This is an explosion from an atomic bomb. Its iconic shape seared into Everett Bartlett's mind, having seen bomb detonations in Frenchman's Flat. On April 21, 1958, the then 10-year-old Henderson resident said he recalls seeing the uncanny cloud shape plume up to the south.
Looked like a mushroom cloud from an atomic bomb. There was just a column of smoke and this big ball of billowing smoke coming up and rising.
The smoke cloud was much smaller, but also much closer, just a few miles from where he was.
What I remember is this. We were out on a break from school, and I saw the huge smoke cloud come up over the edge of Black Mountain, and we knew something had happened, but we didn't find out until we got home that night when we saw the news.
What Bartlett saw was a detonation following the crash landing of a DC-7 passenger plane. A military fighter jet from Nellis Air Force Base, practicing maneuvers, collided with the passenger plane 21,000 feet above the city of Las Vegas. The planes crashed just south of Henderson.
The two of them just ran head-on into each other. The F-100 was going about 440 miles an hour. The DC-7 was going about 330 miles an hour and literally just sheared off their wings.
There was a big stink over it on why it happened and what happened. The teachers were rattled because they didn't understand all of what happened, and then they're trying to talk to us as students about it.
The accident killed all 49 people aboard the two aircraft and came about 2 years after another passenger plane collision in 1956 that killed 128 people. Investigations into the 1958 crash highlighted known issues in aviation.
And what these crashes did is they really underscored the need for the government to do something about improving its air traffic control system.
Because the Nellis Tower, which was controlling the F-100 in the airspace, and the McCarran Tower, which was controlling the United flight, weren't talking to each other. And at that point in time, they didn't. There was a known sense that this could be a problem, but it had never been a problem.
President Eisenhower and Congress responded, pushing through a bill that would establish a new agency to take over aviation regulations from the now defunct Civil Aeronautics Administration, which was deemed too bureaucratic and weak to effectively manage America's growing airspace congestion.
So in 1958, they passed the Federal Aviation Act, and part of that was to streamline much of that, to make it more efficient. So that's really kind of the key. How can we expand the agency, but also make it more efficient to meet the needs of not just this growing commercial aviation industry, but aviation in general. And part of that legislation was designed to improve air traffic control so that planes could be fully tracked.
The act formed the Federal Aviation Agency, now known as the Federal Aviation Administration, consolidating responsibilities that were previously dispersed across the government to improve aviation safety practices and technology.
Anytime there's a tragedy like this, it led to substantial changes in commercial and military flights when they were in the same airspace. What ends up happening after these kinds of tragic incidents happen, that it makes the future much safer. Doesn't make it any nicer that it happened.
To this point, the FAA hosts a catalog of lessons learned from civil aviation accidents to equip today's safety practitioners with key knowledge in order to improve aviation safety. Last week's crash off Ronald Reagan National could be a likely candidate for this catalog.
They're devastating events, but it is essential that we learn from them to try to improve our aviation system. And ideally, we'd like to improve our system without the crashes, right? But they happen. We have learned from it, and we will continue to learn from other events that happen in the future.
For News 3, I'm Ming-Sen Lau.